Welcome back to Absolutely Marvel and DC. My name is Benny, that is Dan, and that is Hassan, and we are back to talk to you. Well, my hair's doing something weird today. We're here to talk to you about Young Justice.
Today? You make it sound like that's not a normal thing.
It's been doing weird stuff for like the last 3 months when I decided to stop getting haircuts. For those who are wondering, I don't have a goal here. It's not like I'm trying to get, I'm curious if I just don't get a proper haircut, what will happen? That's all this is, Hassan. That's all this is.
I was gonna ask if the midlife crisis hair was purpose or was it? It doesn't look bad. It looks cool. Hey, apologies. I'm lowering the gain on my mic now. Oh my god!
I'm just saying, like people are like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" I don't know. Maybe it'll be my man bun. Maybe ittle be like mid 90s, like Jonathan Taylor Thomas, like Andy likes to call me.
That look is back right now. I don't know if you've seen the little TikTokers look like that all the time now. They all have that look.
And all this is not even a midlife crisis. This is literally, I was paying way too much money for haircuts, and I realized as I've been slimming down my face, I don't look terrible on hats, and I was just like, I'll pay less for haircuts, and we'll just see what happens.
I respect it. I did that during the pandemic, and then I realized, no, I don't have flow. I grow an afro. I had a full-blown afro, and it was enough for me to realize, I'm good. I'm going to get my fade. I saw my barber this morning, and I had a great conversation with him.
Well, and that's what happened to me. Like, I was a little late on this haircut, and I was like, it's not curling like it used to. Huh.
The people who are here for Young Justice, absolutely. What are you talking about, guys? This is a 2-minute
Are you not aware of how we do things here? You've been on this channel for like 4 months. Yeah.
This is absolutely Marvel and Benny's hair. All right. This is how we're doing this.
That's exactly it.
It's only a minute of hair talk. All right, today we're talking Young Justice, which is back for 3 episodes.
3 full episodes against Greg Weisman's will. He talked about it very passionately on Twitter, where he was like, I told the studio no episodic releases, but they wanted to drop 3 at once. To which, Greg, I love you and I love your vision, but simply this show is better binging. I'm the only person I know that is keeping up with like all of the storylines prior and knows what's happening. My best friend's watching it, and he's like, I don't remember any of this shit. But like the 3 back to back, he loved it.
And that's what I want to say. I'm agreeing with you in that. I like that, because I'll tell you right now, that first episode of this relaunch, like the comeback, I was like, ugh, is this going to be one of those arcs? It was the second episode that I was like, oh, no, this is good. So if you only had that first episode, this episode would have been me going, the hell, I
think they should have released it like I don't care if there's like a 2-3 weeks in between. Release the whole arc at once. Give me a whole arc. Put some time in between, whole arc. Because, I mean, Dan just lightly mentioned it. I don't even do videos with Dylan. What am I thinking? I've done none. I don't know why.
I'm sorry, Huston. This is not the Who Do You Do Videos With podcast. This is the one where we talk about Young Justice.
Right. Dude, I took 10 seconds to talk about that, like your minute about hair. But look, I think that the Miss Martian arc, if it was binged, it would have been great. But it really was this episodic slog. It took forever. This arc, I think, lacks that pacing issue. I think it may have started like a little bit on the slow side, but not a lot. I think it then really pushed into its movement, its momentum. I was furious when I had to stop watching it. I wanted the resolution of this Atlantis arc really badly.
You know what I think is actually a good example of the fact that this 3-episode thing is working a lot better than doing episodic. Well, let's just jump to this because it's almost separate from the Atlantis arc. The Beast Boy thing.
Oh my God.
So Beast Boy is finally getting resolution. And I am on board at the idea of like superheroes having to go through mental health and figuring this all out and going through it and seeing what that looks like. But we spent 14 episodes of it just getting to the point of like, oh my God, could they just do something with Beast Boy? Quit reminding me that it exists to then do nothing with it.
Right. I see what they were going for. This really like slow, methodical, like he's in more pain and no one's helping him and he's shutting people out and people aren't noticing. But like you can't do that for that many episodes without unless they all drop at once, because then I just watched basically 2 Beast Boy episodes throughout like 15 other episodes.
Right.
And I'm happy about it.
By having all the breaks, I didn't care. Yeah. And now he's finally getting a resolution. I'm like, oh, cool. We're getting something out of this finally. Yeah.
And they made him an insufferable piece of crap.
Yeah. And Dan, I'm going to cut to your opinion on this in a minute, Dan. The biggest thing about me and the Beast Boy thing, the issue is we're finally getting a resolution after a hiatus.
Yeah.
So if I wasn't paying attention at all, I would have been like, what the hell?
He broke up with Perdita. He left the Outsiders. He left his show. He's no longer Captain Cork or whatever he's called on Star Trek, but with Beast Boy.
Dan.
But
No, I was just gonna say that this definitely needs to be a 3-episode at a time show because of the fact that we have in just these 3 episodes we have the Beast Boy arc, we have the Halo arc, we have the Atlantis arc, we have the Superboy arc. If you put one episode out that's 30 minutes long, you don't get any depth to really any of those. And so like I understand the whole episodic thing, but getting the 3 episodes at a time really is required for when you're doing multiple, like jumping around at the same time. And I don't think this is going to be the resolution for Beast Boy. I think this is like the middle of his thing.
Oh, it
I
has to
think
be. Yeah,
this
they're not
is
gonna
going to be
resolve
the.
it's at least the start of that story.
Yeah,
But-
it's
but
the start of showing everyone that when you have mental illness, like even if you're like feeling like shit, you're going to just trash everyone. You're going to ruin everything. You're going to just run it all into the ground. And I think they're going to really do that with Beast Boy. And I
But I
don't
feel
know
like the
how
Beast Boy
hard
scene-
into it is.
The Beast Boy scene would have been better right before the hiatus.
Yeah.
I'll give you that. Yeah.
That's my argument with the Beast Boy thing, because
Okay.
then you would have felt like that wasn't a waste of the first 14 episodes, because, we moved into, crap, hiatus. Well, we're going to see what happens with Beast Boy.
Also,
Right.
you know, that would pack a better punch of Miss Martian giving her speech about losing Connor and how much she needs Beast Boy.
Yeah.
Because now the Connor storyline's playing in the background. We know he's might be coming back, whatever's happening, right? But that, it undercuts
He's a phantom.
it, right? Right?
They
my
said
God.
the thing. They said the thing.
No. Oh, no.
Well, look, it feels like they're gonna it undercuts it, right? Because Miss Martian talking about like cleaning up Connor's affairs and all that stuff. It doesn't pack as much of a punch when we're watching Connor as a ghost boy running around with Ghosty in the ethereal realm or whatever.
I
I
do-
love when he goes, I'm going to call you Ghosty. Yeah, they're right. I'm terrible at naming things.
better
like
than Coma Girl, I guess.
I did like that, and I think that's my issue. I know it's not going in the direction of a CW show, so we're not going to go to that. We're not going to do that. But the biggest complaint I've had about Flash, and Hudson, you've been watching it now, so we could talk about Flash, is they try to cram too many plot lines in at once. And I was liking Young Justice for doing the 3-episode arcs or the 4-episode arcs, because it was great that we'd get into it, we'd see what's going on, and then we'd be done. Or like Zatanna had 6 episodes or things, but like you had a focused series of episodes, but they've been slowly peppering in these storylines to make you so you don't forget them. And it's starting to feel a little jumbled up. So this episode, these 3 episodes is pretty much primarily about the Atlantean situation with Aquaman trying to be king and dealing with Orm. And I love that. I loved that big reveal that Orm is actually some kind of a clone and we don't know what's going on with that. I loved Orion coming back and we getting the reveal of that. That was cool. But on top of that, we got Superboy in the background doing the Phantoms thing. And yes, they did say Phantoms, Dan. They did say the name.
Did they actually say
Yeah. They
did.
Phantoms?
They did.
Oh, I must have missed that.
He
bit.
straight up said, we're just phantoms in this space.
Oh.
And I'm like, the name!
Roll credits.
Yeah, we got the Beast Boy arc going on again, and now it's actually turning into something, so it's actually going to start progressing forward. That's also looping Magan back in. But on top of that, they're also peppering in things to remind you about Vandal Savage. That was one of the end credit scenes. We also have the Halo plot line. We also have Forager has popped up a couple times again. And I'm standing by my statement. I still don't care about Halo and Forager. Why are they back? But anyway, you know what?
I like them now.
I don't want them. Get rid of them. Bring in Nightwing. Let's talk about the Gotham War. Let's talk about the Gotham.
Benny's too hung up on that one reference of what's going on in Gotham.
Because that one reference is more interesting than Halo and Forager going to school.
They're all taking place at the same time. Like we had Dr. Fate come through Atlantis during this arc, so we're gonna get the Nightwing War. Like it's happening.
Yeah.
Don't
It's
worry.
gotta.
Gotham War's gonna happen.
I'm really glad that they did directly reference the Chaos Lord with that red in the water.
Yes.
To really make sure that you're aware that all of this is occurring at the same time. This is not sequential after that.
Yeah.
This is happening during the same
And
time.
also,
I
like,
thought that was a good way to do it.
The impact that event was happening, like Child went and started a giant vortex of fire across the like the world. Like that's terrifying. And like I love when Black Light's like, Superman, I need you in the Taj Mahal for a all hands on mystic level event or something like that. And then like he flies off to handle that because like it was all hands on. And I'm glad we're referencing that. Like that destroyed part of the world. Like part of the world is just destroyed now.
But I have a problem with them doing this because on one hand, I like the idea that this is all happening in a condensed frame of time. Mm-hmm. But then there's storylines happening that aren't falling in line with that. Case in point, Beast Boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, or Connor. Connor, at the end of the child arc, was discovered to be around. Now we're seeing Connor's afterwards journey. But if this is happening in concurrence with the other events, so they're kind of muddling their own timeline as to what is actually happening when it's all happening. Yeah. I like that we're referencing different plots. I think that's cool. But, okay, so then technically Beast Boy's still at home, hasn't confronted Magan. She is technically still en route back to the planet. Technically... Superboy's still just gone. We haven't had anything happen with that. You know what I mean? Like,
I see what you're saying. So it seems like the A plot line is operating on a different timeline than the B plot line. I will say time passes during this episode. Like a lot of time passes throughout these 3 episodes. Like months pass. I think it was like close to a month and a half right after.
Well, yeah, because he gets Orm back into prison and all that.
And
stuff
then it's been weeks since Orm gets back in prison. Yeah. So. Maybe, and I don't know if this is right, maybe we'll go back and watch it and like watch the time skips. Maybe that is happening in real time because the Beast Boy stuff doesn't happen until the last episode, if I recall, right?
It doesn't. Right. You're right.
So maybe it does happen like a month later. But I see what you're saying from like a viewer's perspective. That is jarring. But in a binge perspective, it's perfect. That worked well. If I watched all of these episodes at once, this worked perfectly. But if I watched them once a week, every week for 6 months, I think it would be terrible. It would be hard to focus on a lot of it. And I'm a person who like I love Young Justice. It's my favorite DC Comics property that has ever been put out. I think it's really, really unique in a way that it has a whole universe and it doesn't feel like it's like everything references everything. Everything that has happened, and everything that will happen. It's not like, Justice League Unlimited where it's great and I love it, don't get me wrong, but half the time the continuity of that show is just nonsense. People are wearing costumes they're not wearing later. There's references that get thrown away and nothing ever comes back. Young Justice, these writers like have probably like the craziest wall of like mapping this out ever.
And I know I keep saying it, and I know I want it, and I would kill to have it. Greg Weisman just doing like a Justice League show.
Yes.
And but I do love what he's doing with Young Justice. I just don't care about the season 3 characters. Anyway, it's the whole cast. Brion can go burn in Child's Hellfire for all I care.
Couldn't care less about Brion of Markov. I didn't like Halo until they tied her in to the Mother Box and Victor Stone, like tying her into Cyborg and like having them be the grandchildren of Mobius in the Mobius chair. I thought that was really cool because DC Comics is always like the anti-life equation. They always say stuff that's dumb and they never explain what it means. Like it's always vague. And then this was like, okay, anti-life means this. And then this person can activate anti-life. Like it's making what is like these really big picture ideas that 30 different writers worked on by 2 writers, and they like create their own uniform narrative. So I think Halo serves a really cool purpose.
I disagree. I like what they were doing with her. I did like the idea of like, oh, okay, so now that we've discovered she is this byproduct inside of a dead girl's body, what does that even mean?
Right.
I like that idea, and I liked when they were setting that up. But then when we did the after credit scene or the mid credit scene of Forager deciding to give a whole speech about changing from bug with 2 Gs to bug with 1 G, I'm like, oh, are all the season 3 characters just going to be like, and here's how we live our normal lives? And like, I don't want that. I want Halo to come to the realization of who she is or who they are, and then go do Mother Box stuff. I don't want to have the speech about, okay, well, she's not really a woman, and she's not really Muslim, and she's not really human. So what is she? And that go nowhere. Like that's what I don't.
And
want.
I don't. So I think, and Dan, I'm gonna bounce this off to you in just a second. I really think that I feel so
I'm
bad.
used to this. I'm used to this. This is what I do.
Look, when it comes to Flash and Superman and Lois, we can do the 3 of us because I will just shut up. I don't have a ton to say. When it comes to Young Justice, I have never ending speeches. I think that the characters were all introduced and they're continuing to be part of it for a greater purpose. Brion was there because we don't want to take Nightwing and make him evil and go to Markovia or whatever. We need to have someone. We resonate with him emotionally, and I think they missed the mark a little bit on Brion. Like, I didn't invest in him all the way. So we can have characters we can do things with that aren't our main cast, because we already killed off one of our main cast members. We killed off Wally West, and that hurt enough. We don't need to keep doing that. So Brion serves the purpose of like Garfield Logan's development more than anything else. Halo has great purpose in, I think the identity conversation is really, really interesting. The Muslim, like as a former Muslim, a person who still has a love and appreciation for Islam, like I grew up Muslim, I think that conversation for me growing up would have been one that like, wow, so resonant. My sister started wearing a hijab way later in life. She actually put one on when she was in college of her own accord. Like, I was getting further away from Islam while she was like, I think this is a choice I want to dive more into. So seeing Halo like ask these questions in this really poignant way, it is incredible, and I can't tip my hat more off like the writers. Like, they are amazing for doing the research that they've done to implement the story, because it's been so beautiful. But I think Halo serves a really important purpose on this team too, that like there's a narrative purpose to this character. And Forager, I think Forager is comic relief, but we needed Forager to make Superboy step up. Like, Forager has that conversation. They go to Geranium City, and he's like, Superboy, why don't you just be Superboy? Like they have that talk, and like Double X is like, Connor Kent, when are you gonna live in the light? And we haven't gotten a ton of payoff of it because Connor's dead, but I imagine he's gonna come back. I think it's really an important narrative. If he's been a public hero for a year, for the first 5 years of his existence, he was in the Outsiders. He was a secret to everyone. Now he's like publicly spearheading this, and then hopefully he's gonna bring the Genomorphs. And so it's like a lot of like really bigger topics, human trafficking, aliens, and like illegal alien, like so many things that are wrapped up in this, that I think they're using these new characters not just as comic relief, not just as this, but to build and bolster up our own characters. Because it's awesome that this season has been about the characters, the core original cast, and you know, it's taking some time, but this whole arc was about Calderon, who I don't know about you guys, but him going from Aqualad to Aquaman has been one of the greatest thing the show ever decided to do, because it makes sense. Sidekicks take mantles. Bruce Wayne's not Batman forever. It's dumb. It's a dumb idea. And any writer who thinks I should keep Bruce Wayne as Batman, I get it. You're filling your quota, but it's like narratively ridiculous.
Oh no, I've always argued that a character sidekicks all need to grow up. The biggest, most egregious thing that happens in the comics is Damian is the most obvious problem with not letting people age, because they give him development. They make him understand what's going on. He becomes a good successor to Batman, and then they get a new writer in a new series, and now he's a dick who's 13 and doesn't know how to be Robin again. And they've done it like 5 times in 10 years. But
and Dan, your thoughts on that bigger picture. Like, how do you feel about the Outsiders characters? Because I love them.
So I think I really like what they're doing with Halo. I think they're going into a very sensitive topic and doing it in a very, very good way. Like, in a very, I don't think that people are going to get upset with the way that they're doing it. And I think it's also not educational, but helpful for people that, I mean, I've never been a religious person, so these are all kind of things that I've kind of been curious about. And so it's interesting hearing about it, because like she said, faith is similar across the board, but I'm also learning more about the Islam there. But I think one of the big problems, and I think this is kind of why Benny's not a big fan, is Outsiders just missed a lot of marks to make us invested in those characters. And I think that's one of the biggest problems, because we got Outsiders and we went through so much of, we're missing the characters we want to see. Yeah. Like I wanted to see more of Static Shock, which they used in the Beast Boy intervention.
Yeah,
thing.
hilarious. I like when he just pops up once in a while. Like, hey guys, I'm still here.
But like, I feel like just the Outsiders, those characters we never got to truly emotionally connect to. So when they're brought up, we only think of, okay, I didn't like that part of Young Justice Outsiders, so you're just reminding me of it, so maybe don't do that.
I think what you said is perfect. I think the idea that the show was gone for 10 years and we immediately jump into new character storylines, that was dangerous. I think we should have sat with the team for at least like the first half of the show. And they ended up tying together a beautiful narrative that I loved. Like I love the Outsiders narrative, but I agree. Like we have to acknowledge the elephant in the room. We came back after a 10-year cancellation. We want to see Dick Grayson say Aster and whelmed and, you know, like all of those things. So you're
I want to clarify. I know I'm the outlier who really just dislikes the Outsider season. I do know that. But here's my actual reasoning behind not liking the Outsider season. Okay? It had the equivalent effect on me of your favorite series coming back without its cast. You know, like a show's main cast leaves and they try to continue it. Look at The Office when Steve Carell left. It was
Scrubs season 9.
Or Scrubs season 9. Like it was okay, but nobody's gonna sit here and be like, "That was the best thing ever." You know what I mean? Like, and that for me was The Outsiders. We came back after 10-something years, and it was like, all right, cool. So here's the interesting guys you like. Now they're gone. Here's the new cast. You're like, what? Yeah. And the new cast wasn't other superheroes. It wasn't like the new cast is just going to be this version of Young Justice or the Teen Titans. It was like, here's characters you have no idea anything about because they are footnotes in comics. Like,
which is Greg Weisman and Brandon Vietti's thing. They love taking like Sportsmaster. Yeah. Is Sportsmaster supposed to be cool, guys? Because he's really cool on the show, and I think he's just some dork in a hockey mask in the comics. But I agree. I'm with you guys all the way through it. I think that I love the narrative that they told, but when they told it was bad timing to tell that story. That said, I love, like, now that it's happened, I love what they've done with it. I like seeing them now because Cyborg's in the universe, and he's a very different Cyborg than the one that we're used to, right? And he's kind of becoming our Cyborg, but he's got like a really deep, rich mythos, I think, like already in this universe. And you know, like that little thing, the little end tag last season of him and Beast Boy hanging out, like kind of Teen Titans style. Like they were just like, yo, let's see what you can do, Vic. And he like fucking slams the weight in the ceiling, like stuff like that's great. And they're buddies now. So I have a lot of high expectations for the show. We've been just talking about Young Justice as like a huge concept and less about the episodes we specifically watched.
I was going to say, now that we've talked about the whole season, let's talk about, we've already talked about the B plots. Let's talk about the Aqualad and Aquaman plot. Because that's the actual plot of this 3-episode arc. We're 20 minutes into this.
In beautifully
if he doesn't cut out anything, and we are.
Before we go into it, I just want to say there was one big confusing thing for me. I don't know who is in a relationship with who in Atlantis.
Oh, I do. It's amazing. I kept
like
up with
there. I was not expecting a lot of those. Hey, we're in love with you, but you're in love with him, but we're in the triangle, but. I was a little
that's
confused
all just
on some of
callbacks
those.
to like the last 3 seasons of like, and by the way, here's Atlantis.
Yeah.
So Chris Jones, the art director of Young Justice, tweeted out that he wrote, or he did the art for the tie-in comics. A lot of these Atlantean characters were all introduced during the tie-in. So like King Shark, Nanoe, like all of them together, they'd been previously introduced. When you get to Lagan, I thought that was great because I think there was a moment where the guy's like, "That's my wife." I was like, "Isn't that Lagan's wife?" And then
that was my thought. Yes,
but I love that moment.
Like,
I watched the episodes by myself, and then I had my best friend come over and watch them all again. I was waiting, looking in his face for that moment, and just the confusion of like, wait. Oh, they're in a throuple like Taika Waititi, Rita Ora, and Tessa Thompson. Like they're doing that. Okay, very Atlantean of you.
Because when she was pregnant, I was like, wait a second. Lagan is the father? Because that's going to be a very interesting baby.
I think Lagan is the
Lagan
biological
actually
father
the
then.
Okay.
Yeah,
he's. I mean, it is Atlantis, so they can do.
Because he's not like a fish person. He's like he's not fish first, then like he's like not a fish that mutated into a human. That'd be weird. I think he's a human with fish characteristics because like how Atlanteans evolved over time, which ties really beautifully into like the new guy that they keep showcasing. And you're wondering who it is. It's from the Vandal Savage flashbacks. It's his son, the original ruler of Atlantis, Arian, right?
Yep, Arian. He's in the actual lore too. That's not like a Young Justice exclusive thing. So I'm kind of curious to see where they're going to go with this.
Yeah. I was interested because it's been very weird. He's been very odd. And that other character like pushing him, like, is he going to try and fight for the throne? Are we going to watch War of Atlantis again? Throne of Atlantis, that terrible New 52 Justice League movie from years ago again? Maybe it was better. I'm giving it not enough credit, but
or the 6 different story arcs that did the exact same story.
Yeah, I love. So how jarred were you guys when you saw Ocean Master?
What's a jar? I mean, he's like the only villain other than Black
No,
Manta.
man,
Yeah.
he died last season.
I was gonna. Okay,
Last season he got decapitated.
Oh,
Benny.
then I forgot that.
I forgot. I completely forgot. Yeah.
Because I was just
Yeah.
like, well, Black Manta's obviously on the console now, so we
He's on
have
the Suicide
one
Squad.
other water-based villain to use.
Black Manta's not on the council. That's Calder's adoptive dad. Black Manta's in prison.
No, that's not his adopted dad.
Yes,
It
it
is.
is. They
Damn
make a
it.
big point about
It's
it.
Calvin Durham.
One of the character even
thought it was Black
goes,
Manta.
"You're his
he
adopted
literally
father."
says,
That's
he says,
well,
person that came on Black Manta's crew and then stole his wife and raised his child.
In my
Yeah.
defense, I forgot that he had like his I missed them say adoptive father, and then he's talking about back in like Seattle or wherever he was from, and I'm like, so it's Black Manta. I guess he redeemed him. Whatever. Like,
So Calvin Durham from San Diego. He was
Yeah.
in a rough crowd, came to Atlantis to work for Black Manta, and then obviously realized it was a bad thing. And then Black Manta, terrible guy. Calvin Durham moves into Atlantis and he marries Shairis, who was Black Manta's former woman, and they raise their son Calderam together. Calder is the son of Black Manta and Shairis, but that's right.
well,
yeah,
what even threw me off even more is when he
think
called
so.
his parents, and they had acted like they hadn't seen him in forever. So, like for me, I'm like, okay, he called his parents. They're happy. They're having a great time. You know what I
That
mean?
was him
Like,
calling his parents after the attack had happened. Like
No,
that,
no,
it-
I
it
know.
had been like
I
a
know
couple
why
weeks.
he was calling because the attack happened, but I never heard the line "adoptive father." So to me, it was just that's Black Man on the council.
Well,
I
he
don't know
has
when
the
this
whole
happened.
moment, Benny, where he grabs his shoulder and he said, "This man is my father in every way that matter." Like he,
Right,
this is
and
the
I'm
man who
just
raised
assuming
me.
that him and Black Manta made amends. I'm like,
Oh
I don't
my
know what I
God.
forgot, but
Did
whatever.
you just skip the entire speech that the guy had right before that? Because he even says, "You're not even related to him by blood. You're only here because he considers you like his real father."
Yeah. They're saying, "What? How does a man with your history get on this council?" Right?
Right,
And
they
I guess
said that, which to me
Black
was
Manta.
Black Manta,
You know what?
because they made a
That's
big
incredible.
stink about his history.
So what game were you playing, Benny, when you were
What were you
watching?
playing?
I actually wasn't playing anything during this. That's why like I know so many of the small scenes.
Maybe you should be playing a game when you play that.
Maybe your ADHD just
This is
can't
why I've
do
been
it,
able to
man.
bring up so many of the small, minute scenes because I was watching Young Justice.
Oh, man.
So last season
That's
they teed
funny.
up when Delphinus or whatever, when she's brought into Atlantis, you get to meet Calderon's parents for the very first time in the whole show, and he says it like that was the first time. Like he introduced himself as being from the upper world and then coming to Atlantis, and then like it's clear that he's the adoptive parent because also in that same season, honestly, I think in that same pool of episodes you had Calder and Black Manta, where Black Manta looks at Calder and says, "It sickens me to see you in those colors," and he goes, "Well, it is great that you can't see those colors from your cell," and then he
Yeah, I
sends him
remember
off to
that.
prison, which is badass.
Which is
all
why I
hell.
was very kind of confused that he's now in the council, but I thought they were going to pull some stuff like, well, we got him out of prison just to do this. You know what I mean? Like,
No, man, he killed lots of people. He's like a really terrible,
but
terrible
would
guy.
it be out of a comic book question for Black Manta to get a pardon to be on Aquaman's
Yes.
console?
Actually, yes. Of all
Yes.
characters, it would be very not okay.
I would give
That-
you literally anyone but Black Manta.
well, you know what? Screw you both. I have more faith in Black Manta.
Okay, well, I respect your faith in an absolutely
You know what?
irredeemably shitty character, but not a shitty character. Actually, I think because in Calder has
So
this
anyway,
amazing
I
speech,
liked the Beluga guy.
which like Lagan's like my best friend. Someone save him. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's your best friend. It's
Okay,
in the
I'm not
same comic.
crazy. When he said that, I'm like, at what point did they establish that these two are friends?
In
Yeah.
the tie-in comic, they apparently have like a whole storyline and they're buddies and all that stuff. So
Because like he shows up, everyone makes fun of him, and then the next time we significantly see him is him trying to swim from the blast, and then he's like, "That's my best friend," and I'm like, "What? Did they get
Which-
a beer afterwards or something? What happened?"
honestly, I like it. Like, wouldn't you love an Atlantis spinoff and a Justice League spinoff? Like,
Why don't they just give Greg Wiseman millions of dollars to create the new DC animated universe, multiple
Yes.
shows and spinoffs?
Yes. Oh my! But they're not even renewing Young Justice, guys. If you didn't know, Young Justice did not get renewed for 5. It still is not renewed for 5. So
Why
Yet.
are they so
Yet.
hesitant?
They
Because-
haven't even advertised the show. They
No.
tweet about it once. They put out 2 YouTube videos, and that's it. When you look up Young in HBO Max, Young Sheldon comes up first.
That's a good show, though. Just saying.
I heard it's decent. I heard it's less Big Bang Theory and more like intelligible writing.
Yeah.
But besides the point.
But you're not, and that goes back to my constant complaint with DC's animated projects in general. It never gets proper promotion at all. I did a tweet this morning, just one of my favorite scenes about Superman. You know, they went over to him and literally said, "We need your help, Superman," and he was Clark. And then we cut to the next scene, and he flies up and he's like, "My friend Clark told me you wanted to see me." And
The
even
look
Saturn
in
Girl's
Saturn
like,
Girl.
"What?"
Okay.
Like
And
that was
I tweeted that, and most of my comments are, "Where is this from?" Like,
right. It's mind-boggling. Like if you give Greg Weisman millions and millions of dollars, do you know that this universe has the ability to, like, if you give it a multi-million-dollar budget for a movie, people would go see that movie in theaters if it's good? Like, we can have... DC could compete with Disney in the whole movie of the year thing if they do crazy stuff with it.
I think they've proved that it's not necessarily a question of if it's good. It's, yes, they need to give money to Greg Weisman. They also need to get a marketing department.
No,
Because that's the big problem.
It's-
Because we read the comics every week, and I don't see any advertisements for Young Justice. It's just like with the Titans show. It wasn't until like Titans was done that they started to make a comic about it and said, "Hey, check out Titans on HBO Max."
Yeah, or it was on DC Universe at the time, so I think they were still rolling that. But when Young Justice came
season
to HBO,
2 when it was on HBO Max.
Oh my God, they weren't even
Yeah,
promoting
they
it
did
then?
not advertise it until they released a comic called Titans United, and then they started putting it on, and that was at like the end of the season.
Young Justice, like it blew my mind when we didn't know the release date. They were doing DC Fandom, and I'm not even kidding. It was a throwaway sentence. They're like, "You can now stream the first 3 episodes of the brand new season of Young Justice." Yeah. What? Excuse me? Build hype, man. Like, come on.
There is a fan base for this. We're not massive
fan base.
but we have
and I think there'd be a bigger fan base. Like,
but it could be so big. If people knew this existed and watched it, all of my complaints about Outsiders aside, it was a great jumping on point because they didn't have to explain anything. It was like, here's a new team. Just go ahead and enjoy.
And they reference it. I love shows like that where there's like clearly a rich history beforehand, and like you could view seasons 1 and 2 as a prequel. You could go back and watch them like a prequel. You could watch where we're at now and go back. It really does. It upsets me to my core of how they've treated this property, because I think you guys are exactly right. Like for me, my journey watching comic book videos and like reading comics and anything of the sort, I liked Marvel movies. Okay, they were fine. I watched Young Justice and I was like, oh my God, where can I find more of these? And I looked up videos on YouTube and I found like, I think you guys covered Green Lantern on the Comic Storian, and that was my first soiree into like real comics. I buy comics now. Like I'm a big part of the community. Only because Young Justice was like, wait, this is so interesting. Look at this history. Like, they're not just doing Roy Harper, like Red Arrow. They wanted to do both, so they made a clone. So they did Roy Harper, Red Arrow, and Roy Harper Arsenal at once.
And Roy Harper Security Company with all of them.
Right now, all 3 of these episodes are strictly a setup for this for the arc. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not against that. I'm not as excited about it as you two were, but like, okay, cool. 3 episodes setting it up. Next Friday, we're gonna get into what's actually happening with Atlantis. We got the clone Orm. We've got not Black Manta as his dad kind of showing up in the console. We've got Beluga being my new favorite character. We've got Superboy running in the background. We've got the Superman and Saturn. That whole thing's starting to actually start coming around. That's another B plot we did mention. And before we close out, I do want to mention one last thing, and I want to get your guys' theories on it. Saturn Girl, and I don't know that weird alien's name.
Chameleon Boy
went to Kid Flash, and none of us brought that up.
Yeah, it was such a tagline.
Wait.
Yeah, at the end of the episode, she goes to Kid Flash, and they say, Bart Allen, we need to talk.
No.
Say Kid Flash?
They say Kid Flash, and I paused the scene to make sure I'm not wrong. They made sure not to show his face. And he's red hair.
No, they show his
real
face.
quick.
He's at Jay Garrick's house. He's at Jay Garrick's house, man.
Right, they do.
Jay Garrick is his dad, or Jay Garrick raises him. Hold on. Benny, I'm double checking you right now.
I'm literally...
I'm very curious because
No, it's not
sworn
Wally. It's definitely Bart. Here, hold on.
Well, even if
I
it's
know
Bart, though,
they-
this is gonna fit. I put the link to the scene right there. Oh, that was the black screen. Oh, because it's HBO. Well, let me take a screenshot.
Oh my God. Okay, well at least it's gave me
hold
a
on. I'm
timestamp, I
pulling
guess.
it up. I'm gonna scrub through this. No, I think
You're right. They go to the house. They knock
it's
on
Jay
it.
Garrick's house.
Right.
Yeah. And
Okay,
Jay
you
is,
do get a
Jay
brief
is
thing
Bart's
of the
dad.
face. Okay, you're right. They show that before flipping to his back of his head. But it's only a split second. But where do we think this is going to go? Because they made a very strong point about the time travel not being available anymore. We're now referencing Kid Flash, even if it's Bart. We still have been implying Wally might come back this season.
Bart's
that's
a time
the only
traveler.
way
That's why
to
I think they're
time
going.
travel. Yeah.
They're going to Bart because Bart's built a time machine before.
I have a feeling this is one of those, they're covering all bets. They're telling Superman what they need to have happen in the future because they can't time travel, but they also need to figure out how to time travel because they are from the future and they do need to get back eventually.
And Bart is a time traveler that is already displaced from his own time. He's not supposed to be living in 2024 or wherever we're at.
Well, that's why he's at Jay Garrick's. There's nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought they may have been implying like, oh, this is Bart, but it might actually be Wally.
Oh,
but
man,
either
I'd
way,
cry.
yeah.
I liked when they
my
showed
first
Wally in
thought-
the Superboy scenes.
Yeah,
I
it
did
was
like
fun.
that bit.
I talked to Jason Spizak about that. He refuses to give me any hints if he's returning as Wally or not. He has already finished for the show. He's like, oh, there's lots of Forager this season. I was like, that's not what I asked you, man. That's not what I wanted to know.
That right there is the avoidance of I can't say yes, but I also don't want to say no.
Yeah. No,
And the other
he's,
thing I wanted to ask before we start closing out this episode, because as usual, this is one of our longer episodes talking about Young Justice.
It's
I
three
mean, it was
episodes.
3
It makes
episodes.
sense. It's
yeah.
fine.
And
They're
it's
all
us
20
3.
minutes. That's a bad excuse. Anyway,
Well, I mean, let's be honest. The 3 of us, the 2 of you could talk about each of those episodes for 30 minutes. I get like 3 minutes in there every
but the
now
other
and then.
question I want made me lose my train of thought. Oh, they have multiple times said he doesn't know if he's dead. Do we think that they're going to leave Superboy actually dead, or they are going to bring him and Ghosty back?
I don't
bring
know.
him back.
Because they keep bringing that up. They keep bringing up, are we dead? Is this an afterlife?
I think
they'll
because
bring-
Phantom Girl is there, and I don't know what Phantom Girl's powers are in the comics, but other than the fact that she looks like a ghost, that the implication is that she used her powers the last minute and moved them to a different plane of existence or something like that.
I think they took him to the Phantom Zone.
Like the actual Phantom Zone?
I think they might
Have they
taken
ever
him to the
referenced
Phantom
that in
Zone.
Young Justice? I actually
I don't
even
think
know.
they've referenced it, but we do know it's in there. The multiple times that we have seen it, or at least that I can recall seeing it in different adaptions, is it's basically an endless wasteland with just a bunch of rocks, and people like are on those rocks and doing their thing. And I'm wondering if that's what it is. And she used up all her powers to take them to that area, and that's why she's unconscious.
What are her powers in the comics? I don't know her.
I'll look her up
I
real quick.
actually don't know too much about
I
it. That's
don't-
my assumption and my guessing of just theorizing.
Gotcha. Also, they say that we saved Superboy at the UN last year. So Superboy was almost killed at some point in between seasons, and we didn't know about it.
Her
So they've
ability
been
is
around
to
for some
phase and intangibility, hand-to-hand combat, dimensional travel,
There we
and
go.
flight.
Okay, cool. Then no, I don't think Connor's dead at this point.
I'm just saying because they keep referencing it like, oh, maybe he is. Maybe
If he was,
maybe
yeah,
this-
if he was by himself, I would say, okay, maybe this is a death thing. But the fact that there's 2 of them there, that's what makes me lead to believe he's, at the very least, he's gonna try and get her back. Or
Yeah.
something like that. Maybe this is him like fully sacrificing himself so that she can get back or something. But
Right.
I think it would be a lot of effort to go into them in there, as well as a lot of the existential stuff with Superboy, and then have it be like, all right, but you're dead. So this
Thankfully,
doesn't
from
matter.
the trailer, we do have some knowledge that they're going to get all the Mystics together and get them into the Tower of Fate, and they're going to be trying to commune with Superboy. So hopefully, sooner than later, we have a better answer as to like what is happening with that. But I was so glad we finally got some movement on that storyline because it has been backdropped and it's felt. I mean, it's not a bad thing that we're letting a characters like feel the impact of death without the undercutting like they're alive at the post-credit scene, you know. Like I liked it that we had a couple episodes of true mourning, and it felt like we're mourning with the characters because we love Superboy. Like for me, Superboy's always been one of my favorites on that cast. So, you know, really excited to see where it goes. I know we didn't talk a ton about Calder in this episode, but Kari Payton is back and he's swinging and he's voicing every single character on this show, including Robot Man, which I thought was great.
I did like that.
Brendan Fraser in live action, and then Kari Payton in the animated universe as Robot Man right now. Getting a lot of Doom
Why
Patrol.
is Robot Man getting so much traction?
I thought that was a little bizarre too myself.
He's very fun on Doom Patrol. I don't know if you guys have gotten to cover that yet, but Doom Patrol is a trip.
I
of a
lost
show.
interest in the latest season. I got halfway through it and just was like, meh.
I haven't gotten through season 2. I hung out with the girl who plays the chief's daughter in New York the other day, and she's incredibly excited about 3. She said it's like one of her favorite scripts she's ever read in her life, and she's like frothing at the mouth to like, she just got back to Atlanta to film, so they're shooting that now. But yeah,
But that's a different show, and we've already talked about Young Justice for 35 minutes. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. And if you want to watch another, it's not going to be short. If you want to watch another in-depth Young Justice discussion next week, make sure you subscribe to the Absolutely Marvel and DC channel, where we talk about all your favorite Marvel and DC TV shows and movies. And we'll see you guys here soon. We'll be here soon. We'll
be here next week. We'll be here next week.
Like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell.
It's Young Justice. We'll be here every week. Love you guys.